Good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. We have with us tonight, back by popular demand, Franc Palaia.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding, people use that expression, back by popular demand just as an expression, but this happens to be true. I didn't tell you this when we spoke, we've been emailing back and forth the past few days, but I looked at my list of YouTube hits, on all my shows, and there's now 46 of them. And of the past 15 shows, the one that's had the most hits was the last one you did in November 10th.
Really?
How do you like that?
I didn't know that.
How do you account for that?
Oh, I have a lot of friends that.
Yes.
No. Actually, no, I didn't
No.
know that, and I'm very
Yeah.
pleased and flattered.
So I said, this is like really something, and we have to have you back. And here he is. And of course, this is going to be a show that's really part two of the art of the illuminated photo sculpture, and we only did a part of what we were planning on doing, so we're going to continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously people like the first one. Had quite a few people interested, and of course I loved it, and there were a lot that we didn't cover, so that's going to be what we're going to focus on tonight. So welcome back.
Okay.
I'm pleased to have you here, and let's go to the album. Let's go to the videotape. As I don't know who said, I forgot who said that. Some sports figure used to always say that.
Is that where we left off? That one in particular?
I believe so.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay.
But wait a minute.
Okay.
I got a few things to say first.
Oh,
So
okay.
we got to move on to the what I call housekeeping chores, and then we'll go on to that. This is just the introductory
Oh,
photo. We'll
okay.
see it without the stuff on the bottom.
Mhm.
So okay, so here's okay. Now this is really esoteric, but and I'll tell Frank, as I tell the audience, that last week I did a show on I called it Secret Treasures of Florence, and I covered 11, actually I covered 14 little known museums in Florence. And
Wow.
one of them we did twice on the show already when Rick Hurst was with me, and that was the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo. And then we did one on the Photography Museum when I was doing a show called Florence Then and Now. So I spoke about the Photography Museum, the Alinari Museum
Oh, right.
in Florence. And then the third one was the Marino Marini Museum,
Uh-huh.
which we're going to do in a couple of weeks, so I didn't really focus on those. But then I did 11 more. And these are museums that very, very few people really know about. Some tour books don't even have them, but I love these museums and I go to them a lot. And two of the museums I covered were the Bardini Museum and the Horn Museum. And these are two museums, as I indicated in the last show, that they have a lot of, these are palazzi that were bought by wealthy merchants, and they adorn the palazzi with their collection of, well-known artists of the Florentine Renaissance. Some of them have like armor and stuff like that, but mostly it's, paintings by Botticelli and Filippo Lippi and so on. So it's really very, very wonderful museums.
Are these private museums? Are they private?
These are private museums, yes. These are private museums, and there's the Bardini.
Mm-hmm.
And I indicated in the show that I did that the Bardini is located. This is Florence, okay, and this is okay, excuse me. So this is Florence, and you could see that the Horn is on the north shore of the Arno. That's the Ponte alla Grazie, that bridge that you see there spanning the Arno. And I indicated that the Horn was on the south and the Bardini was on the north. So just to set the record straight, not that, the vast majority of people who watch this show are running to see these two museums if they happen to be in Florence, because it's pretty esoteric, and I go there a lot because I love them and I like being away from the mass of tourists that go to the other museum, even though I also go there. But just to set the record straight, the Bardini Museum is on the South Shore, right across that bridge, and the Horn is actually so close to it. It's on the north shore of the north bank of the Arno, and the two museums are within a 5-minute walk of each other. But the Horn is on the north and the Bardini is on the south.
Well, an easy way to describe the Bardini, it's right behind the PT Palace,
Right.
pretty much, and behind the park there. So that's easy to find.
The Forte di Belvedere. So
Right, and they're both right on the next bridge from the Ponte Vecchio. So that's
right. It's
that's easy to find.
it's the first bridge to the east of the Ponte Vecchio. So Bardini south, Horn is north. I had it reversed. So somebody who knows? So I just don't. Also, I don't like when something is not right. So I corrected that.
My two favorite small museums, they're not that unknown or hidden, like you say. It's the Galileo Museum and the Da Vinci Museum.
Did both last week.
Oh, you just were there.
No, I did them.
Last
No,
week's
I did
show.
them on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I did the Da Vinci and I did the
Galileo.
the Galileo. Now, let me ask you, what do you like about the Da Vinci Museum?
Well, it's I've seen similar museums, like the one in Vinci, his hometown.
Yes.
There's one that's similar to that, but I had never been. My last trip to Florence, I had never been to the one there, so I made a point to go see it. Da Vinci's my favorite person in the whole world.
Wow.
For a million reasons. So I always like to see what they come up with. Maybe I can find something new that he did that we didn't know about. And there's always some new things that I didn't know about. But anyway, it's just I like small little museums. You can see them in less than an hour. It's not
Right.
too taxing on
Right.
your feet or anything. And after you see all the major museums, then you say, well, what else am I going to see? You want to make sure you see as much as possible when you're there because there's so much to see anyway. So anyway, but I just wanted to mention those two that I like.
Now, one of the museums that is, and I don't know whether to classify this museum as one of the greats or one of the lesser known, because it's not like in the top three. Like people go to the Uffizi, people go to the Bargello, people go to the Accademia,
PT
and they
Palace.
go to all the and they do go to the PT Palace, right? But and I'm going to do a show on the PT Palace with the Boboli Gardens in about 2 months. And I'm going to go to all, there's like 3 or 4 museums in the PT Palace, which I'm going to cover. One of which, of course, is the Palatine Gallery that has the great work by Raphael. And that's going to be, I'm going to spend a whole night just talking about this whole region right around here, where the PT Palace and the Boboli Gardens.
Yeah, and it's quite enormous. Look at the size of
I know.
that compared to the city. I mean, it's a major museum. And,
Major
and,
museum.
And the gardens are beautiful, beautiful. I have some nice photos. Maybe I'll send them to you.
I would like to use them. I would definitely like to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Laura and I did this, did the gardens in our trip that we took in May, and it's all uphill. As you leave the back, actually you can't get in through the back door. You have to go around the side, and you go, and then it's all uphill. And when you get to the top of the hill, you get this incredible view of Florence. That's amazing.
I got some great shots.
But we'll do that.
So,
And Florence is. I've been to Florence 17 times, and I never get tired of
You
it.
should run for mayor.
I should. Well, I wrote a letter to the mayor actually.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I wrote a letter to the mayor asking him for an interview. And when I told my friend Luca this, he said, "Boy, you sure aim high." And I said, what have I got to lose? Maybe he'll give me an interview, but he never even responded to the email. So
that's
Luca
too bad.
told me that he currently has some.
Connection.
No, he has problems. The mayor had some
Oh.
legal problems
Oh.
that had to be settled at that time, and he could not.
Okay.
He's in the Berlusconi camp of having to deal with legal difficulties.
Really, I thought he was. I thought he was the left wing
I saw some videos of the guy and some interviews, and he seemed like a really sweet guy and
He's young, isn't he?
very young.
Does
He's in
he
his
have a
30s.
beard?
No, I
No
didn't
beard?
see a beard, but he was like bicycling with some of the people.
Yeah, he
who
looked
were-
like a young hip guy. I thought he was.
Well, he could still be a young hip guy. Maybe the legal problems are not that serious. I don't know. Anyway, he didn't give me an interview, but you might be interested in knowing that I do have an interview with the head rabbi in Florence
Okay.
at the synagogue. Okay, so I just want to mention this very quickly, then we'll go on with the show, and that is I'm doing a Socrates Library Forum on Monday, January 14th, and I wanted to remind people. I spoke about the three that I'm doing in the next couple of months, Socrates, Kingston, and Woodstock, but I'm not going to, this is the one that's coming up first, so I thought I'd focus on it. And what I'm going to be speaking about there will be, if I may, serendipitously, we have this. This is the book. We don't. I can hold it up, Alan. You don't have to make a separate trip over here for that. But this is the book that was just published about a month ago, and I'm going to be talking about this book and promoting it, and also I'm going to be talking about this book and promoting this as well. This is the first one that I've been speaking about, and of course these are the two books. And my goal is, okay, that's good enough for now. My goal is to make money and give the money to the town of Woodstock to be used for the studio. That's my intention. So
Nice.
very altruistic
Very good.
and very, I'm kind of interested in helping out. And since probably without the two books, without this TV show, I wouldn't have the two books, probably, because this whole thing wouldn't have gotten off the ground.
Right.
And I want to, give some money. And the first thing I'm going to do with that money is give it to the mayor to give to the studio, and they can pretty much use it any way they want. And there's like a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of. So those of you who are in the area, please come. The Socrates Library, 6 p.m. on Monday, January 14th. And I have, it'll be a presentation talking about the books, but I'll be showing a lot of the photos that I've been showing, so it's a good chance. And you could ask me questions about a bunch of stuff. So anyway, here we are tonight. And I had one fast question.
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask that, or you want to get on with that
Oh,
because
go
it's
ahead.
almost
Go
20
ahead.
after. I'm very interested in the Rome Prize
All right.
because I spoke to somebody recently who did the Rome Prize, but was only there for a month.
Yes.
And then you did the Rome Prize and were there for a year.
Right. Well,
And
they have different variations. When it first started 120 years ago,
Wow.
it was 3 years.
Oh.
It was you really would just get totally absorbed
Hmm.
in Italy and the culture, and you have plenty of time to learn and travel and develop your skills, classical
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
Basically started because American artists, architects, mostly actually started with architects. McKim, Mead, and White actually built the American Academy because they knew that to be a well-rounded architect, to really know about the history and just how, the concepts, you had to be in Italy and in Rome in particular, because every form of architecture is in one city, spans thousands of years. America is such a young country, we didn't have any,
Yeah.
what do we have? Cinder block buildings, that's it. Well, we have other nicer ones than that, but basically,
The 17th
they
century
wanted
on,
to
yeah.
send American architects who are studying to be architects to study in Rome, because that's where you get the full, well-rounded education. So they built this building where you go there, everything is paid for 3 years, and you become a great architect. Now, as time went on, I guess other artists felt left out, and why shouldn't we be able to do the same thing like sculptors? Because you've got architecture and there's a lot of sculpture in architecture. So sculptors have a good reason to be in Italy, of course, the Roman sculptures and all that. So then they added sculptors. Then they added painters who wanted to learn how to do frescoes. Then they added musicians and writers and art historians and landscape architects. And then more recently they added filmmakers, photographers. So now it's everybody, all the arts, And they went from 3 years, that was getting to be a little too expensive, so they went to 2 years and then they went to 1 year. Mine was a 1 year, which is fine, I'm not complaining, that's a great year to have. But then they have visiting artists who stay for 6 months.
Right.
Like if they're very famous, they stay for 6 months, or they have a 3-month residency. They have a 1 month, like your friend had. So, I don't know but the Rome Prize, which used to be called the Prix de Rome, because 17 countries have academies in Rome. There are more academies in Rome than any other city, because it's a place where everybody wants to go to learn, to study, to see everything that's great. So all the major countries have, not all, 17 countries, mostly European countries, Japan, who else? That's the only non-European country, and in the U.S., of course, England, France, Germany, all the major countries. They all have their own academies. They all look different, and we used to use the French term Prix de Rome, which just means the prize of Rome. So, but the American version is the Rome Prize Fellowship. So that's basically it. So there's a lot of variations. There's a lot of different, if you can't spend a whole year in Rome and you're an established artist, they say, well, you want to stay for 3 months, you want to stay 1 month. It's up to you.
Now, did your wife Eve? She had the
same thing I had. Was the 1 year Rome Prize.
So she was selected at the same time you were.
Well, she's amazing. She actually got 2 Rome Prizes, which is very rare. Usually, you only get it once in your lifetime. I don't know how. To this day, I don't know how she got 2, but she got one in 84, 85, and then the second one was 85, 86, and that's the year I was there. So if she only had the 1 year, I might have never met her and might have never got married to her. So luckily for me, she had the second year, so we met and then we got married in Rome.
I see.
I told the story.
So was that 2 consecutive? You said 84, 85, and then 85, 86.
Right, she was there consecutive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be pretty unusual.
It is very rare. I only know one other person that had the 2-year Rome Prize. So I don't know how
she should have gone for a third. I bet that,
Forget it.
Yeah,
that's no
that's
way.
Not
Also, she's been invited back for 2 residencies. One was 6 months and one was 3 months.
Well, I mean, I don't know Eve very well. I mean, she's been on the show twice. We've been out socially a couple of times, and I think she's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, she is.
I know you believe that.
Yeah,
also.
that's why I
and
married
Laura
her.
believes that also.
That's why I married her.
So I know.
It's one of the reasons, anyway.
We try to marry extraordinary people who are intellectually stimulating and wonderful people.
So we should.
All right, so
get
here we
on to
go.
the show, yeah.
So
all
I'm
right.
starting with
You want to start? Can you
I'm
go
starting
back
with the
a
ones
couple?
that I
Because
thought
I'm
were very
trying to
interesting.
remember. Can you go back another one?
No,
Or
I
is it as
can't.
we're starting?
There's no
Okay.
other.
All right.
It's a different
Because
album.
you made a big jump. I had these in kind of a sequence, but it doesn't
Did you
matter.
really?
Yeah, kind
Because
of.
I rearranged them.
Oh, okay. That's all right. All right,
sorry,
basically,
I
all right, this
realize
is illuminated photo sculpture. That's the term that I gave these pieces, and I've been making these for over 20 years because it's the easiest way to describe what they are, because they kind of took on their own physical manifestations. There wasn't really a category with a name, so I had to come up with this illuminated photo sculpture because I combined sculpture, photography, and illumination. In each piece has those 3 components.
Right.
So, now this one is called Solar House Sculpture. Now, you only have this view of it, and it's kind of dark because it's dusk in the photograph.
I may have another
Yeah, you
one
might have
of
another
this
one.
somewhere
Oh,
along
okay.
the line.
But basically, this, up to this point, this is 1995, and for 15 years I was making these pieces where they were indoors and you plug them in and then the lights light up and then you see the illumination. But I wanted to break out of the indoors and go outdoors with the same concept. So I said, well, how do I make an illuminated photo sculpture outside I don't want to have to run an extension cord for 200 feet. That's crazy. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I use a solar panel? So what I did was I did some research. I learned about solar panels and how they work, and I came up with this idea of kind of a little enclosed shed. Actually, it's what it is, a shed. And
Did you build a shed?
no, it was a prefab
Okay,
shed
yes.
from Home Depot,
Mm-hmm.
and because it has one long roof angle where I could put the solar panel, which you don't see in this picture. It's the right hand side of the roof there. So I took the shed, I retrofitted it with the solar panel. I cut out holes on the side, and I inserted big transparencies. These are about 3 feet across. And in the back, I put a little window because it would look like a little house. So I put a little window in there. Actually, it's a mirror. It's not a window. With an image in that as well. So, and on the other side of this is another 3 foot round illumination of the sun. This side is the moon. The other side is the sun. So the idea is that this piece absorbs light from the sun, and then it illuminates itself.
Wow.
So, so I included that since the source of the energy for this piece is the sun. I put the sun on one side, and then the moon is illuminated by the sun, because the sunlight reflects on the moon.
Right.
So I thought, well, the moon should be in this piece as well, because that's a symbol of illumination, and it goes with the sun. You have these 2 round images on either side. And in the back is a photo of, it's sort of like peeking through the window of my house, and you can see my whole family inside.
Really?
I'm reading the paper, my wife is petting the cat, and Lily is doing something. So so you're sort of peeking into this little I don't know, building. And
Wow.
so you have this illuminated piece that is illuminated by the sun, like literally by the sun, because the sun is making the
Right.
electricity, but
Right.
in a different way. It's not illuminated by the sun as if you were, standing in the sun and it's going through a window or something.
Well, it's a solar panel, so it kind of gathers
There's
the energy and then uses it.
Right, it sort of
during the
interrupts
evening.
the sun and then
Right.
sends it out into a light form, a different light form to illuminate the photography.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a excuse me, a perfect marriage of photography, sculpture, and natural light and artificial light, kind of creating this illuminated object. Oh, and what was fun about this is that during the day it just sort of looks like a sculpture. You don't see the illumination because it's not lit up. Then there are sensors in the solar panel, which at dusk, which is this picture is taken at dusk,
Mm-hmm.
it lights up automatically. I have 2
Right.
batteries inside that hold the electricity, store the electricity,
Right. Right.
and so it would be illuminated all night, and then at dawn, when the sun comes out, it would turn off.
Hmm.
So you have this perpetually going.
Kind of like those, indicators we have on our walkway.
Yeah,
as you
now
come in,
everybody. Yeah, but this is 7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
before they even had any of those things.
So is this in your neighborhood?
No, this is in an outdoor sculpture show in New Jersey.
Oh, it's a sculpture show.
Yeah, it was a show of about 40 or 50 sculptors, and they had sculptures all throughout the city, just like the Kingston Sculpture Biennial, exactly the same
Right,
thing.
uh-huh.
Only this is in Long Branch, New Jersey,
Right.
which is
I know
about
exactly where that is.
yeah. In fact, this is about 100 feet from the Atlantic Ocean. The ocean is right to the right.
Mhm.
It's right at the beach.
I
And
know
not
that
on the
beach.
beach, but next to the beach. There's a boardwalk there on the right in the background.
So a
And
lot of
this is-
people must have stopped to see this. This
Well,
must have
yeah,
been
it was a
pretty
popular
fascinating.
place because there's a boardwalk there, and everybody's
Yeah.
thousands of people would see it. And it's actually my hometown too, where I grew up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I thought it was kind of nice that I came back and did a little installation in my hometown.
Okay.
Because when I left my hometown, I was a very young guy, and I wasn't really making this kind of artwork. So to come back and have a piece to show was kind of a
That's great.
nice thing to do. So that's the Solar House sculpture, and I was lucky enough to get a nice little grant from the Dutchess Arts Council to help me pay for the solar panels and the transparencies, because it was a little expensive to make this piece. I showed it in
Okay,
3 or
imagine.
4 other places over the years, but it doesn't exist anymore. And
It must have been hard to move around. Did you, you
well,
assembled it there,
yeah,
I assume?
it came apart in pieces, and then I had to put it together. It took almost a whole day to reassemble. I also showed this in Kingston. In fact, this was in the Kingston Biennial as well in 2005.
Right.
This I think was 2006,
Mm-hmm.
and then I showed it in Long Branch, and I showed it I don't know, a couple of other places. I forget now, but yeah, that was the beginning of my outdoor public art pieces where I incorporated the light and photography. So,
Okay, this fascinating. I don't know what the heck
yeah,
this was.
well, this is I got a commission from the New Jersey Transit Authority. They had a program. It's a really great program where they've expanded their light rail system along the coast of like Hoboken, Jersey City, which is kind of like European style trolleys and trams, you know, short little running trains, and so they need all these. They have a lot of stations, so they hired artists. They had competitions for art for the stations, and they had these are called windscreens. These are glass walls, basically, you know, where people wait, you know, blocks the wind and the elements, and so they had.
Oh, that's a train station.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just the little waiting
The
area
little waiting
of the train,
area.
which
I
really
see.
these days a train station is not really a station. It's just a platform,
Yeah.
a roof, and these windscreens where people wait, a bench, you know, and a couple of lights and a ticket machine. That's the station. But even though that it's a very minimal station, they still had a lot of things that you could artists could work on. For example, they had benches designed by artists. They had lights. They had mosaics. They had murals.
Great idea.
They had even bicycle racks. You know, were all designed by artists. And then these are the windscreens. So I submitted, since I was doing the illuminated photography, you know, light and sculpture. I thought the windscreen was a perfect medium for me because I can still work with a photographic image, and I'm using natural sunlight to illuminate it. Now they had a rule though with the this windscreen is that you have to these windscreens have to be transparent for safety reasons. They don't want people hiding behind
Yeah.
them and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
So the only material they can use is glass. So how do you put an image on glass? You can either stain it or you can etch into it. So this is an etched glass windscreen. The image is, it's a little hard to see there, but it's the Bayonne Bridge. Bayonne Bridge is a world famous bridge. It's a big giant arch.
So that's the
It's a
light part of
span.
it, because I see the trees through it. So the lighter part, the gray part,
The lighter
like over here.
Yeah, that's the
This
arch
is the
of the
that's
bridge.
the arch of the
Yeah,
bridge.
It's
Okay.
a famous bridge.
I see. Okay.
And it's the bridge is only about 2 miles away from the this station,
I
so
see.
that's why I use that. And plus, for years I have been photographing bridges, so that
Yes,
was a perfect
yes.
subject matter for me.
And how about on the sides? Is this?
Yeah, and then on the sides I have images too.
Uh huh.
I don't think I included.
No,
them
I
in
don't
there,
think
yeah.
so either.
The sides are other images of sailboats and ferries, and then the other side is the text, little background about who designed the Bayonne Bridge, and then my name, the date, and so forth. New Jersey Transit, you know, blah blah. So anyway, so this was in 1996. I got the commission, but then it wasn't finished till 1999 or 2000.
Wow.
It took 4 years. Yeah, these government-sponsored commissions take forever. But I did
Is that
two.
because of slow funding?
No, it's just the logistics of it. It's just the
Yeah.
planning,
Yeah.
the selection. Then you have to go through the materials. You have to do the actual etching. Then you have to install it, and then they had the dedication. You know, this drags on for months and months and months. It's okay, you know. I mean, it's understandable. It's complicated. Plus, they were working with hundreds of artists. It's not just me, so they have to, organize all of these different like one station might have 10 artists.
Oh, really?
You know, because there's 10 different things that they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, it's wonderful because it's like an outdoor museum, you know.
Mm.
And if you go on the train line, there's only maybe 6 or 7 stations. You can see 150 works of art in just 3 or 4 stops.
Who
And
knew about this? I mean, I
yeah,
lived in New
well,
Jersey for 20 years.
most
and
urban places in the U.S., this is what's going on. I mean, rural people don't know about this because they don't take these kinds of trains. They don't take any
right.
mass transit. They just drive or walk. So this is a very urban phenomenon, and it's a wonderful phenomenon. And we can thank Bill Clinton because in the 90s, the early 90s, he actually passed transportation bill, $150 billion to upgrade the transportation, and in that, with that came a law called the 1% law, which stipulates, and it has to be, that if you have any construction in the United States that's paid for by the government, either state or federal or city, it has to have 1% of the budget goes to art. So, I don't know how many millions it took to build this particular station, but 1% of those millions adds up to a lot of money for art.
Sure, yes.
So that's why it was mandatory. They had to have this artwork there, whether they liked it or not. Well, of course, it's a great thing because everybody benefits. It's makes it a.
Who came up with the idea for this particular thing? Was it a group of artists that just kind of were given this commission and said,
What, the 1%?
no, to do this concept of
The transit people.
the trans people just said, well, we need these little houses.
Well, they got this big lump of money from the government to build all these train stations, and in that was this law, the 1% art law. So they had to put out the word, artist call. Well, we have 12 art pieces for this station. Whoever wants to submit ideas, we'll look at them, and then we pick the ones we like, and then you make them, and everybody's happy.
Right.
So
Very good.
that's what happened. So I submitted to two train stations, and I got 2 commissions. This one and the one next to this one. This is the 34th Street station, and I did the 45th Street station. The other station, I had a similar thing, a different bridge and different other architectural images. But it was a really nice.
Yeah, you're into bridges. It's I see that in a lot of your stuff.
Well, because the other station was close to another bridge
right
in the town of Bayonne.
Right.
So that's why I put that bridge on that one and this bridge on this one because they related to
the Bayonne Bridge is the one I'm familiar with. I don't know what the other one
it
was,
connects New Jersey with Staten Island.
Right, the Bayonne Bridge on the north. I've taken that bridge. I used to take that bridge.
Yeah, it's similar. It's almost, in fact, it's identical to the bridge in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. You know the one where they have the fireworks.
Yes.
I forget what it's called there. Excuse me. But
when I lived in Staten Island, though, we used to take this bridge, rather than take the Verrazano and go around that way into Manhattan. We used to go across the Bayonne.
The Australian version of this bridge, they're really identical. The only difference is this one is raw metal. The whole thing is just metal. The Australian bridge, they had a little more money, and so they covered the 2, what do you call them? The towers at either side of the bridge are covered in stucco, concrete.
Right.
But so this one is bare, it's all metal. But it basically, and the other one is 3 feet longer than this one. So it beat it out by a little bit. But,
so what you did was I guess you lied it down and then, created a kind of a sketch of what you'd like to do and then began etching. Each one of these panels is etched.
It's sandblasted.
Oh.
That's how you get because you make the glass rough. And when you make the glass rough, it's not transparent anymore. It's translucent. Right. And the texture of the sand gives it that gray kind of look. But that's the only way you can see the image, or otherwise you can't see it. So the benefit is you still have an image on this windscreen, but you can still see through it. And then also it looks beautiful when the sun is behind it.
Yeah.
It just, it glows like a jewel. It looks like a big diamond. It's really quite beautiful. Yeah.
Is it there now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a little vandalism, like
Well, there's always a
3
little
months
vandalism.
after it was installed. Some
Graffiti?
some jerk came by and shot it with a gun and broke 3 or 4 of the. And these glass,
Is that right?
these are solid glass blocks. They're about 3 inches thick. Solid glass from Pittsburgh. Special.
So
Pittsburgh
so the
glass.
government paid for that, I assume, all your materials and so on, and
Yeah,
paid
oh
you
yeah.
for the job.
Oh
right?
yeah, and I got paid for the job
Wow.
too. Yeah.
And this was right after. This is '96,
Yeah.
so it's
Clinton.
right around the time that you were. You had done that other one that you just spoke about. So that was a fertile time for you to do these glass things.
No, this is 96. The other one was 2005.
I thought you said that was '96.
Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry. It was
Could be.
2005.
Well, I may have made a mistake too. We'll have to
That
go
was
back
the
to
solar
through
house.
the record.
Solar House was after I moved
You know,
to
we, this,
Poughkeepsie.
this the studio has a lot of specialized talent. One of them is the archivist. Let's have the archivist go back and tell us.
Okay, let's see. What
Okay,
else we got.
let's move on. 'Cause
Okay,
we're
now
really-
this is the same theme. This
Right.
is another commission I got from New Jersey Transit, a different town. This is Woodbridge, New Jersey, which
Yes.
is near New Brunswick, near Rutgers. If you know that
I've been there many times.
and it's the main train line through New Jersey. And this was a great one because they had 2 different parts of this big commission. They had 3 windscreens. That was one commission.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a mural. That was a separate one, but it was for the same train station.
Right.
So I submitted, since I do both, I submitted to both. I figured, why not? And what happened is I got both.
Mm.
Yeah, and I was amazed because I would have been happy with one. And in fact, I called the Woodbridge people. I said, or the transit people. I said, you gave me 2. Is this fair? Is this kosher? And they said, well, yeah, you got the highest marks in both categories, so you got both commissions. I said, okay, that's fine with me. So yeah, this was one of the bigger commissions. So I did 3 windscreens. Now these are different style windscreen. These are much bigger than the other one. These were about 20 feet long and about 10 feet high. And the glass is different. They were big panels
Yes, I see the
rather
difference.
than the
Yes,
little
panels.
little
Yes.
squares. And then the mural was in the tunnel which connects the north and south track of the train station. The tunnel underneath connected the 2, so the mural was in the tunnel. That was 60 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a bad size, but not that huge. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Let's
I did.
move on to a
yeah.
different piece, because
Yeah,
you know,
sure. Oh
this
yeah,
is the
this is
same thing.
look. It's very elaborate, and I had to work closely with the etchers. See, I didn't actually do the etching because I'm not a sandblaster.
I see.
So I had to go to the Bronx. The Bronx had this company
Wow.
that did specialize in sandblasting. They did such a phenomenal job. You can't believe the detail that's in this. It's hard to see. It was actually very hard
Well,
to
I
photograph.
see some of the designs on
because I
that. They're
couldn't
beautiful.
I couldn't really get close enough to. Yeah, it's factory. It's a
You got
brick factory,
sailboats
it's
I see
sailboats
in
and
there.
the river and
Yeah.
people and little horse-drawn buggies filled with bricks. Because each of the 3 large windscreens, each one had a different theme of the history of the town.
I see.
It was a famous brick making town. The first one that you showed, it had one of the first printing presses in the country in the 1700s by Benjamin Franklin. Actually had a part in it
I didn't know that.
because he was a
Mhm.
printer first.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
And then the third one was famous architecture of the city. So that was the 3 different themes. So
Okay, this
yeah,
is what we were talking
yeah,
about.
now this is another view. Well, similar view.
It's a slightly different view.
It's actually the other side. You still don't see the solar panels, but
Yeah,
you can see this image of the sun there is illuminated,
right.
and then the window in the back. This is
Okay.
behind the Caneen Hackett Art Center in Poughkeepsie. It was there for a year, just on temporary loan.
Okay, let's.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay. Now you can see.
Yeah,
the
now you
front.
can see the solar.
Now you
See,
see
now
the
I
solar-
knew I had different
Yeah,
views
it's
of it
actually
for that
2
reason.
solar panels, each one about 2 by 4 feet.
I see.
And there's the image of the Earth. I had changed it. This was the original image. I had, the sun illuminates the Earth in nature. So here
Yeah.
the sun is illuminating the Earth, but in a photographic form.
Mhm.
That was a play on that. And that's a nice shot there, an autumn day, and you can get a sense of what it looked like.
Now this is a snowy day.
Yeah, because it was there for a year,
It
so
was
I
right,
photographed
so
it
you
in
put it at different times.
yeah, different
Really
times.
nice, amazing.
Yeah, just to make it a little different.
I can't take my eyes off the house that beautiful house behind, right next
That's
to
not a house. That's the
What is that?
that's the Caneen Hackett Theater.
Oh, is that right? It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's a theater. Yeah,
It's a beautiful building.
It's built by Matthew Vassar. That's why it's beautiful.
I see.
He had good taste.
And there's
Yeah.
another
That's
view
the
of it.
first, the same first
Same view
image,
as the
yeah,
first
the
one.
moon, the moon shot.
Okay.
Yeah, now this is an older piece. This is about 20 years old, but it was one of the first pieces of the illuminated photo sculpture. So I was just going around finding all kinds of containers of different shapes, sizes, different things that I could insert a light bulb and some transparencies and make a photographic sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called Double Chimney. It's about 4 feet high, an old trunk, antique trunk. I put wheels on it, and it actually has two images, one on either side, that relate to each other. This is a huge old factory in Newark. With these chimneys are about 300 feet high.
Wow.
They're as high as the Statue of Liberty.
Why are they so high?
Well, because in those days you didn't want pollution in where you're breathing. So the higher the chimney, the more the smoke will be blown away from your area.
This was
This is like, I think it was a power plant.
right.
This.
Nowadays they don't make them so high.
Well, yeah, they still do, but they're not supposed to be making terrible polluted smoke. Yeah, this is 100 and something years old.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought it had a majestic, unbelievable scale.
It's beautiful.
And so on the other side, I don't know if you have see if the next one is.
Yep,
Oh yeah,
it
there
is.
you go. So the other side has two other towers, very tall, but different countries, wholly different thing. These are the two towers in Bologna.
Ah.
Yeah, which not very many people
This
know
is the
about.
Due Torre?
Due
Torre.
Torre di Bologna, right?
Ah.
And which I'm amazed that not more people know about these towers, because they're amazing. They are in a way like they were the world's first World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Built in the medieval, I think, times.
Uh-huh.
Somewhere in that period. And they're pretty tall. One's taller than the other. And it was part of that time, when these rich families would show off by
Yes,
building the
yes.
biggest tower they could, and then they would outdo each other in the
Yeah,
higher, and they,
yeah.
like San Gimignano is like that.
Yes.
Except those
Florence.
towers there are tiny compared to these two. These are pretty big. These are also
Right.
about 300
Right.
feet tall. And so I thought it would be a fun play between the two huge
Yeah.
chimneys, which is like an American image.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the same piece, you have two similar ideas, two big towers, but an Italian image. So, and also,
It's great.
you don't get to see these very often. I don't know why they're not as famous as the St. Peter's in Rome and the Antoniella Tower in Torino and the St. Mark's Tower in Venice. These are
Yeah.
all iconic things.
Campanile in Florence.
Right,
We're doing
exactly.
the tower show,
That's right. And so I have the
You have those in that show to talk about?
I think I forgot about those. See,
Maybe I should put this in.
Yeah,
or,
you could put that in there, sure.
Yeah, sure. I
Yeah,
will
'cause-
do that.
Yeah, because these are.
Because these, I've been to Bologna, and these towers are amazing.
Yeah, and you
But
can go.
I think it's because it's Bologna. I mean, Bologna is not an obscure place.
No,
But
it's
when
not.
you talk about the Campanile in Venice
Right.
and Rome and Florence,
Siena.
Siena, it's
Everybody knows
Bologna
those.
is not like
Yeah.
up there.
And Bologna has two towers that are.
I know,
pretty
and they're
huge,
magnificent.
and they're right next to each other, and yet nobody knows about it.
I know.
I don't
And
get it.
Bologna is a great place because
It's famous for
supposedly
a
it
lot
has the best food in all of Italy, but
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I
good
didn't feel
food.
that way.
It has the best basketball team, and
That
it
I-
has.
I didn't
It
know.
has it's known for the 3 T's. Torre, towers.
Right.
They invented tortellini,
Is that right? I didn't know
Pasta.
that.
and the third T is oh boy.
Who was that presidential
it's-
candidate that said there are three things that I would immediately, three branches of government? Or,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
and he
right.
forgot the
I have a
third
Rick
one?
Perry moment.
Rick Perry.
I think tete is the third, which is a kind of a slang for breasts.
Okay.
Because I have a postcard from Bologna, and it has the three T's, and it has the tortellini, the tower,
Okay,
and
so
a
what
beautiful
is- so-
woman with breasts. So that
Oh,
must
is that
be-
right?
I think
Oh,
that's
so
the
they
third
have beautiful
T.
women too.
Yeah.
It's
So-
also known for, it's got a Michelangelo sculpture. You know, it's a nice downtown area. It's a beautiful.
And it's the architecture's great because it has the colonnades. It rains a lot in Bologna, so the architecture fits the weather, so you can walk around outside and not get wet.
Oh
So
yeah, the arcade.
the
Yeah, I remember
arcades
that
are
arcade.
everywhere because
Arcades
it
are everywhere.
rains a lot. Yeah, so you
Oh,
don't
that's
need
interesting.
you don't need an umbrella.
And it's an hour north of Florence.
Yeah,
It's even on the line going from. It was on the old line. I don't know if it's still on the line, going from Florence to Milan or Florence to Venice. Even
It's Florence to Venice,
and
it's
it's
right
even
in
a.
there.
You know, if you want to go from Florence,
between Florence and Venice.
if you want to go from Florence to Ravenna, you have to go to Bologna.
Yeah, it's a main. It's a main train
Right.
stop.
So I don't
In fact,
you know,
they had that famous, terrible, horrible terrorist bombing in Bologna in 1980, I think it was, and I think 80 people died. It was very bad.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the Red Brigades. I'm not sure.
Mm.
So that
Well,
was.
I wasn't into Italy in
Yeah,
1980.
yeah, that was a bit. That was terrible. But
The
Bol-
advent of my interest was 1992.
Also, it has the world's oldest university.
Oh
The
yes.
first university
Yes.
in the world was in Bologna.
Is that right?
Yes, and it's a big city. It's about 500,000 people. It's not a little dinky
No,
town.
I know that. I know that.
No, and it has several really great museums. It's a really nice city.
It is. I spent an
Yeah.
afternoon there, which is not certainly not
It's
enough
very
time.
elegant. It has a very elegant quality, and
I have to try to get up there this trip. We're going to be in Florence.
I had this funny observation. I noticed the last time I was there was a while ago, but I noticed there were a lot of tall people in Bologna. I said, why are these Italians are kind of tall? And then I found out that
Basketball
they were the European champions in basketball. You know, basketball is the second most popular sport in Italy after soccer. A lot of people don't know that. So basketball, they call it basket. They just call it basket.
Oh.
So the Bologna had the European champion team. So I'm thinking, okay, are they the champions because they happen to have a lot of tall people, or do all the tall people that are on the team live in Bologna? And so that's why I saw a lot of tall people.
Yeah.
I didn't know which came first.
I can't answer that
So,
question. I can't answer that
I never
question.
did find that. I even asked some Italians and they didn't know either.
So Bologna is a worthy visit,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
hope to someday.
Okay, now this is a series that I started around 2000, and it's called Illuminated Photo Mirrors, or Photo Mirrors. Now I took a mirror. I took a mirror, the regular mirror, and what I was doing before this, I was making those big cumbersome light boxes out of trunks and steamer trunks and cases and air ducts and things like that, and things were getting very big, heavy, bulky, and difficult to move around. I thought, well, how can I make an illuminated image with just a bare minimum of materials? And I found a piece of glass, or I found an old glass in a frame or something, and something was stuck on the glass, and I held it up to the light, and I could see the image through the mirror. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So if I scrape off the back of the mirror, it becomes a piece of glass. Like if I put a transparency in there, you can have a light box, but without the box. So I stripped the box away, and I took a mirror, and I eradicated the metals that are on the back. There's several layers of metal to make the glass into a mirror, and it's a layer of copper, a layer of aluminum, and sometimes even zinc or silver. But they're baked on, so they're very difficult to take off. It took me a while to find this one chemical. There's only one chemical I could find that would take this metal off the back of the mirror. So when I did that, I did it in layers and layers and layers, and I would scrape with sandpaper and steel wool, and it would come off.
What is this? Is this
But
an
then what I
aggregate?
would do is put my aqueduct series
Oh,
Illuminated because the mirrors were long and horizontal. So I put the aqueducts in the back. And what happens is it was a beautiful blend and marriage of the rough translucent mirror with the rough texture of the aqueduct.
Hmm.
You know, the rough stone. So you're looking through this mirror. You're looking at a mirror, but you're not seeing a reflection. You're actually looking through the mirror and you're seeing a different image.
Hmm.
So it's very disconcerting. You can't tell so much in this slide here, but if you look around the edges of the piece, you can see on the upper right-hand corner a reflection of my skylight in my
Yeah, I
studio.
see that. I see that. Yes.
Because I purposely left some of the reflective mirror on the edge of the piece. So you have the mirror is still intact around the edges, and you're seeing reflections of the room, and you can see yourself in the mirror.
Hmm.
But then you look in the middle, and you see a completely different image. So it's a little disconcerting, which is what I like. So you have this image of what you see, like in front of the mirror, and you're seeing an image behind the mirror.
Hmm.
So you're looking in two directions kind of at the same time, which
Right.
usually you can't do that. So you're looking at two directions, you're seeing two different images, but they're blended together into one piece. So I kind of like that play of light and reflection and illumination all in one piece. So I made a lot of these mirror pieces, and all different shapes and sizes, and
Were they in exhibitions?
oh yeah, I showed these quite a bit. I showed them at the Newark Museum,
Mhm.
at Vassar College. I had a solo show of these, and many other places. Yeah, and they were just illuminated with a fluorescent bulb in the back, a fluorescent fixture,
Right. I see that.
and they were held up just with two L brackets coming out of the wall. I would lean the mirror on the L bracket, leaning against the wall, with the fluorescent light just sitting on the two brackets. It
Mhm.
was so minimal, and it was really great because I got rid of all that heavy, bulky, boxy part of the other older light boxes. So, yeah.
And when is this? And when did you do this? I'm just curious of the year.
I started these in the year 2000 up until
uh-huh.
a couple of years ago, and that's Aqua Claudia, by the way, in Rome. That's
Uh-huh.
the aqueduct.
Which we discussed earlier.
Right,
How much time do we have, Ellen?
5 minutes.
Well,
5 minutes.
No, we have 1 minute.
Oh,
1 minute?
Oh, 1 minute. Okay.
Ye gads.
Okay.
Well,
Well, go ahead. Let's see what the next
that's
one.
the next one.
That's kind of small. I think I talked about that, didn't
Did you?
I? Yeah.
Let's move.
Yeah. That one's hard to see. Yeah, that one is a larger piece. It's called Home, and it's a steamer trunk with a kind of a birdhouse on top. It was marrying the name of like a concept of home, and you know how people used to live out of these steamer trunks.
Yes,
They had their
uh-huh.
other stuff in it.
Yes, yes.
And then, of course, a birdhouse is a home. There's a
Mhm.
little bird there on the stem. And on the other side, I have 4 transparencies of 4 different. Go to the next one, maybe. Well, that's no.
No.
Okay, you didn't have the other. That was the most important side.
Sorry.
The other side. Anyway, I had 4 different images of the concept of a home. Starting from the top was the planet Earth. The second one was a kind of a regular house. The third one was the White House. And the fourth one was a homeless man on the street, sleeping in a sleeping
Mhm.
bag. So you have 4 different concepts of a home, and they're all illuminated, and they're made out of these 2 kinds of homes: the birdhouse home or a doghouse home, and the steamer.
I
trunk.
think we'll stop.
So,
And dare I say,
oh boy.
do we need a third one?
I think so, because there's quite a
Would you-
few more.
Would you like to do that? Come back and do it? Because I
Yeah.
love these. I think this
Yeah.
is a great discussion.
Okay, sure.
Okay, you have been signed up for a third one.
Okay.
A rarity on Alan's Italy that we would do a
I-
third show.
I
We've never
broke
done a
the-
third
I
show.
broke the record. I
Well, we're
think.
going to do it, and it'll be sometime in the future. We'll talk.
Okay.
In the meantime, thank you for watching, and buonanotte e buona fortuna. And if I
Buon-
follow what you once told me to,
buon
I should
lavoro.
also say buon lavoro.
It's a nice phrase because it doesn't exist.